What is a simple question that's hard to answer? I would have actually written a piece on honor among the Norse in the Viking Age and its similarity to the samurai's code of honor during the Kamakura period. Then I'd state that my position was that region of overlap and give them absolutely no concrete answer, that they don't have to go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole to find out where I stand. If they're going to waste my time, I'm going to waste theirs. Oh God, I hate getting that question. I've interviewed at the FAANGs and fucking Facebook, yes, Facebook, asked me that. Full disclosure, I will never work at that evil empire, but wanted an offer to counter the others with. I gave some bullshit "I enjoy technical challenges" answer, and the interviewer followed up with "Why FB specifically? You can solve technical challenges anywhere." I laughed and shrugged it off. They still offered. I declined. Fuck Facebook. I work for a FAANG that starts with an A, and that's a completely useless question for us to ask to evaluate a candidate, so I never have. I've always hated it anyway. I don't care why you want to work here. I just care that you fit the requirements of the job, REQ and the other stuff we evaluate people on. I do leave like 10 minutes at the end of the interview for the candidate to ask me questions though. That's always fun. I sometimes ask something more like, if I hired you, what you need from me over the next few years to feel like you were developing in the direction you want. And people's answers are usually pretty enlightening as to how much and what type of help they're going to expect from me. Not every question has to be about evaluating how good a fit they are. I mostly ask to show them that it's a topic I care about, and so I can start thinking about how I'd help them. A lot of people say they're looking for opportunities to collaborate, learn from other people and work together to solve problems. I always read that answer as, I am unhappy in my current job because I feel like I'm isolated and don't get to work with other people enough, which is especially relevant in this working from home world and definitely a thing I want to know when it comes to onboarding them. Some people say they want variety of work, or the opportunity to become an expert at something, learn new tools and technologies, develop their skill set. Some people are able to lay out a really clear vision for what they want in terms of changing careers or moving up, and I can think about how practical it will be for them to achieve their vision at their company, how much work it would be for them and me, etc. I had one candidate say, I just want people at the company to know I exist and understand my contribution, to be asked what I want regularly and have support getting there, and it was sad to me that they feel they don't have that already, but also positive because this is something I'm really passionate about that I feel like I could give that person and make them happy to come to work. It's one of those things that always struck me as a higher level position question that somehow worked its way into a lot of positions it really shouldn't be asked to. Are you going to be a project manager, a head of a department, a regional head? Yeah, it's probably a fair question unless they're unemployed currently. Even if the biggest motivation is, I think you'll pay more, there's probably more going on about career development and their aspirations, and it can show some useful stuff about where they are, their motivations, and their perception of the company and the position. Someone who's welding on a factory floor, restocking shelves, answering the phone for customer complaints, making pizzas, yeah, it's a dumb question. Even if they genuinely have excitement over joining your specific company, what are you going to get out of it? How much they want the job? That's going to be clear enough with the rest of the interview, and all it does is start your culture off with a weird social pressure when someone would be a great worker but they're just there for a decent or bigger paycheck than they've had. Let's be real too, because honestly wanting the job because it's sustainable for their livelihood and / or their family could be more reliable of a motivation than some bullshit about I just love the idea of overworking mundanely to the point where I might hate myself because it gives me such drive and potential for earning my way to the top of the working class ladder. At the end of the day, everybody's gotta eat, and we all know we have to have a job to get by one way or another. To me, it's all just companies looking for the most desperate and exploitable people that are willing to play the game and overwork themselves to take advantage of better labor for a new hire. Pragmatism is not only discouraged in this country, it's actively seen as waffling or inconsistency. While I don't think all who claim this are malicious or necessarily favor black or white thinking and certitude, the miasma of attitudes like these have definitely creeped into the public consciousness, making it seem that people looking for easy answer strategies like this are decisive or have leadership qualities. And that's without even getting into the sexist ways these attitudes are implemented. Lest you think this is innocent enough, just remember how Donald Trump weaponized this concept all the way to the White House. Late to the thread, but I thought I would share a related story. In 1983 at the Uniforum in San Diego, I was displaying my new source-level C debugger, CDB. I had a printed command sheet that included the F command, which supposedly did a find and fix bug. This was, of course, a joke because if I could do that then the rest of the debugger was unnecessary. Most people would glance at the commands and then start asking questions. One fairly serious gentleman actually spent the time to look at all of the commands. He looked at me with one raised eyebrow and asked, with a German accent, "Find and fix bug?" I nodded and gestured to the keyboard. "Give it a try." Now I had intended to have a whole list of silly responses, but this was a last-minute hack and I only had time to put in one. He typed it, and then spent the longest time staring first at the answer on the screen and then at me and then back. He finally broke out into a full-throated laugh. The man was Herr Director Dr. Hans Strack Zimmermann of Siemens. He was in the process of almost single-handedly pulling Siemens into the world of Unix. And the message that made him laugh? "Things look good, but you may have a halting problem." Turns out his doctoral thesis had been on the halting problem. Siemens ended up being one of my largest customers for the debugger. Honestly, I imagine most people can tell you what they want for dinner. I want pizza, so that's what I'm gonna get. The issue is when it comes to getting food with someone else. I want pizza, but I'm fine with anything else. I don't want to force my want of pizza on them. Maybe they don't want pizza, and really want something else. Maybe there's a food they really want, but don't want to say because they're worrying about what I want. I'm just not going to say and let them decide. Can you tell I have an anxiety disorder? This may be the classic, potentially invalidating fixing it. One thing that helped me is sometimes doing dinner by having people just get stuff from different places and get takeout, etc. Also, while it can indeed be called anxiety and overwhelm to overly worry about others, the other kind of person is the thoughtless assholes who do force their choices on others, or manipulate, or even just are indifferent. But those somehow aren't as often called disorders. I guess there's less personal suffering for them, but those people can truly suck. Being thoughtful about others, at its core, can be a nice thing, though also burdensome. And yes, there's all manner of anxiety that goes far beyond thoughtfulness into all sorts of directions that can cause mild to severe personal distress. I live in the American Gardens building on West 81st Street on the 11th floor. My name is Patrick Bateman. I'm 27 years old. I believe in taking care of myself, and a balanced diet and a rigorous exercise routine. In the morning, if my face is a little puffy, I'll put on an ice pack while doing my stomach crunches. I can do 1,000 now. After I remove the ice pack, I use a deep pore cleanser lotion. In the shower I use a water-activated gel cleanser, then a honey almond body scrub, and on the face an exfoliating gel scrub. Then I apply an herb mint facial mask which I leave on for 10 minutes while I prepare the rest of my routine. I always use an aftershave lotion with little or no alcohol, because alcohol dries your face out and makes you look older. Then moisturizer, then an anti-aging eye balm followed by a final moisturizing protective lotion. My name is Yoshikage Kira. I'm 33 years old. My house is in the northeast section of Morio, where all the villas are, and I am not married. I work as an employee for the KMU department stores, and I get home every day by 8 p.m. at the latest. I don't smoke, but I occasionally drink. I'm in bed by 11 p.m., and make sure I get 8 hours of sleep, no matter what. After having a glass of warm milk and doing about 20 minutes of stretches before going to bed, I usually have no problem sleeping until morning. Just like a baby, I wake up without any fatigue or stress in the morning. I was told there were no issues at my last checkup. I'm trying to explain that I'm a person who wishes to live a very quiet life. I take care not to trouble myself with any enemies, like winning and losing, that would cause me to lose sleep at night. That is how I deal with society, and I know that is what brings me happiness. Although, if I were to fight I wouldn't lose to anyone. I think there's a difference between a question being hard to answer and a question being philosophically complex. This is definitely the latter, but it took me about 5 seconds after heard the trolley problem the first time to figure out what I'd do. Personally, absent any special information about any of the people or their circumstance, I'd save the 5 over the 1 with a clear conscience. At the end of the day, if you can't prevent a tragedy as an objective outsider, I believe the next best thing is to minimize the quantifiable harm caused. Nope, the egg would be itself of the chicken species. It's at conception that genome mutation happen, so some not quite chicken antenate did the sweet sex, got pregnant, and a mutation happened that crossed the boundary to what we would consider a true chicken. So a non-chicken laid the first chicken egg. So the egg came first. Obviously in theory, because in evolution there's no such a distinct division between different species. But we could in theory define a precise genome of what constitute a chicken, so the reasoning hold. I know you know, but for the stupid. Imagine you're facing north and looking in a mirror. Things to the west are also to the west in the mirror. This is to your left. Since the mirror image is facing the opposite direction, south, things to the west are now to the right, not the left, for the image version. But up for you is also up for the image. Turning around from facing north to be facing south doesn't change what direction up is, it only changes what direction left/right is, and forward/backwards, but nobody asks why they don't see the back of their head when they look in the mirror. Can you be sure that we have consciousness? How can you be sure that I'm not an unconscious zombie or robot? Heck, I can claim that I experience consciousness, and I do indeed experience consciousness, but from your perspective this claim I just made could very well be an automated response, and I would have no way to prove to you that I do indeed experience consciousness, and you would have no way to prove the same about yourself to me. Anyway, that's one hell of a way to fry your supposedly conscious brain from every angle, unless it isn't conscious and you are an unconscious robot creating automated responses to fool me, The only being I can be 100% sure is indeed Conceus. When your girl asks if something makes her look fat, which it does, but she knows you well enough to know when you're not telling the truth, and she gets really upset every time you do lie. You don't want to lie cause you're still paying off a hospital bill from the last time you lied, but if you tell her the truth the debt will probably get bigger anyways, and y'all are already having enough financial trouble as it is ever since the incident that cost your wife her job, which you're okay with cause you didn't like her working at Chuck E. Cheese anyways. Still, though you don't want to add to your debt, well, at least not until you hopefully win the court case with Baskin-Robbins that started cause they said they had 32 flavors and your wife only counted 31. My grandfather was 90 when he died. At his funeral anyone who wanted to get up could speak. After various family told their stories, an old man approached the lectern. He told a story about when he was a young boy. Some teenagers had organized a game for him and other kids where they hid a bunch of pennies and the kids would have to find them. But since this guy was younger than all of the rest, he got none of them and cried. The teenagers thought this was hilarious. The next day, the teenagers decided to play the game again, but this time, after the bigger kids had taken the pennies, Grandpa put some more out for the little kid to find. He would have been 19 or so after having come back from WW2. This was a nice warming story about a kind man that my grandfather was, but the thing that I found the most amazing about this story is that this was an old man, and he still remembers a story about kids picking on him 70 years later. I know kids are little shits, but we have to do better as a society because these scars last a lifetime. My parents saw me as an investment and kept a secret journal of how much they spent on me my entire life. What I got for Christmas, birthday gifts, movie tickets, even when they gave me quarters for the arcade. Even after I got married they would track anything they gave us. Gifts for the kids, things they bought for our house renovations, my dad got a military discount and they even noted the reduced amount by percentage in the ledger, etc. Found my mom's diaries and a handwritten ledger with my name on it detailing everything when we cleaned out her house. She also really didn't like my wife. She repeatedly wrote that I married someone that she felt was from a lower class, and had multiple notebooks detailing what to do when she passed that we found throughout the house stating that she, my wife, her family, and friends, were not to enter the house after she died or to have any of her possessions. Joke's on her. It took us 6 months to clean out their 3 properties. My family never showed up until the day of the final property auction. My wife and her family helped me clean out 3 packed properties and sell everything we didn't want. Completely changed my entire view of my parents and their love for me. Went to a friend, R, from college's funeral about a month ago. He passed young, early 30s, and had a wife and 3 small kids, with the youngest 2 being twins born early this year. We were close in school but only casually kept touch over the years, so I had only met his wife, a few times. I get to the funeral and was surprised how well she seemed to be holding it together, but figured everyone handles grief differently. I offer my condolences and then end up chatting with a few other college friends after the service. A comes up to the group to let us know that we are invited to go have a drink with her and a few others if we want, as her parents are watching her girls for her. I was going to decline until she states she really wants all of us to join because she needs to let us all know what she found out over the last week while going through ours things to try and get her and the girls' life organized. Apparently the reason she wasn't very upset was because R had been leading a double life for the past 13 plus years. He had always claimed his dad had owned a trucking company and then sold it, leaving him really well off. Based on his spending habits, this all seemed true. He also had claimed his mom passed while we were in school, that he was an only child. After he left the college I attended during our sophomore year, he would post pictures of Vanderbilt and claimed he transferred there to finish school. He also said he got a master's from a different prestigious school. I had worked with him briefly a few years ago in a professional capacity when his company reached out to possibly work with my company, so based on his role there, all of that totally sounded like it could be true.